So here's the sitch on the ATL box score today. It's Football Friday, so we're getting into the Georgia-Florida rivalry because this offseason, it's had more drama than a soap opera. Then we have Donovan James on from Full Press Coverage to talk about recruiting and recruiting rankings and all that great stuff. This is the ATL Box Score Podcast. You're listening to Football Friday, and by the way, we are the newest sports podcast in Atlanta. This is the ATL Box Score Podcast. With starting a new podcast, people ask me all the time, Alex, where do you record your show at? Do you do it at your house? No, I don't do it at my house because of just a lot of different logistical factors. The place that I do it at is actually a place called Spaces, Midtown East. And Spaces is a co-working center where I get my show recorded and I get other work done. Co-working has been one of these new phenomenons in the private business sector that has popped up recently. And Spaces also has another brand called Regis, which is more of a professional brand. Spaces is more for creators like myself. But to tell you more about these special brands in the business world is Mr. Steve Choi.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate those kind words. We absolutely love having you and ATL Box Score as part of our space. It's always great when we see you doing your work. But absolutely, Spaces and the Regis concept, we are both workplace providers here in the Atlanta area, but all around the world. We have over 250 Spaces locations worldwide, plus over 1,500 Regis locations. And what we're really here to do is just provide flexible options for any type of professional, whether you're an independent professional, creative, or if you're a large or small business. So we have several different types of options from small to large and memberships, part-time, full-time. So definitely come on out and check us out. Go ahead and look at the link on Alex's site and ask for Steve Choi. And if you ever come into one of our locations, let us know that Alex sent you or ATL Box Score, and we'll go ahead and set you up with a free 5-day test drive.
Yeah, you can't beat that 5-day test drive. In those 5 days, you will know if Spaces or Regis is the right brand for you. And Spaces is all over the place. They're a little bit more limited, but they're in the main areas of the city. The one we are is right in the heart of Midtown, near the Fox Theater. There's one at the Battery. There's going to be one opening up North Point Mall there. And there's also a location in Colony Square. So they are all over the metro area. At just about any major business building in the Atlanta area has a Regis in it. So just Google them. But Spaces and Regis and Steve Choi in particular is your place to do your business. So welcome back on this sunny Saturday morning, and we are here at Colony Square, and everything is a whole lot better here once they brought the Chick-fil-A back in, and it's not this standalone Chick-fil-A anymore.
Nice.
Don't you agree?
This place is coming right along, man.
It's coming right
Pretty
along.
soon they're going to have the concerts in the park, the movie theater, and shancing everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And everybody will be jealous.
Bringing the Chick-fil-A back.
Bring it back.
To a better location, to better, just overall better, restaurant looking and everything like that.
It's fresh too.
The biscuits this morning were
spot on
point.
Oh,
they were
damn.
on point.
Bam.
That's what gets me motivated to do this podcast is
some biscuits, huh?
Oh, it gives me the energy.
Yeah.
throughout the day.
It's like the sun for Superman. It's biscuits for Alex.
Yeah, exactly.
Dun, 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 dun.
So before we get into Football Friday, let's do our non-sports minute. By the way, I'm Alex Berger. Thanks for joining us today here on the ATL Box Score. And I have to say, Austin Riley, it's after 2 games in, being called up from the Gwinnett Stripers.
Whoa.
He is.
I heard he's a beast.
He is a Cardinal killer.
So he killed him, huh?
Yeah, hit a home run and
Whoa.
got on base. There was actually one of his balls last night that he hit, and this was like at the beginning of the game, I think in the 2nd inning, where he hit it so far, but it just wasn't enough.
Gotcha.
Maybe if he got in the right pitch, that probably would have been a home run, but it bounced off. You hate to see when something like that, like you hit something so far like that and it just bounces off a wall.
I know.
Luckily, though, he got on base. He got to second, so
good hit.
Yeah, it didn't get into anyone's glove, so it wasn't an out. By the way, those home runs suck. It looks like it's going to be a home run. It actually pops over and into the guy's glove and everything.
You got to give credit to the guy, the catcher.
Yeah. You do have to give credit to the guy, but
because that's not easy, man.
But you don't like it when it's your team doing that.
No, I certainly don't.
So
I certainly don't.
We do call the show Football Friday. We're about to get into some football. We do have Donovan James on the show today from Full Press Coverage. So I had a fun conversation with him about recruiting and just college football in general. So if you're a recruiting fan, if you're one of those people that recruiting has been one of these new things that people have started to pay attention to in college football since you've had guys like Sam Bradford, Tim Tebow, and everything like that. You're kind of just like, ooh, I want to find out when the next guy is when he's in high school that's going to impact my team. So I'll follow high school football or go to I've always wanted to go to like a high school game of a guy that might have a bright future. But that's just me. But before we get into that, and before we talk about the Georgia-Florida rivalry, because, I mean, man, this thing's like playing out like a soap opera right now. Your boys, Steve.
Yeah.
They were down by, was it 10 or 5?
Nah, it was like 15 at halftime.
15 at halftime, and they came back.
Came back, man. It was such an exciting game. First half wasn't exciting, but that second half, man. That's what champs do, buddy.
The most on the edge people, or on the edge like type of people that I've seen that ESPN's pointed out a bunch of times. They even had their sideline reporting who was covering that game interviewed them was the Currys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because it's yeah.
I don't see the stress. I mean, I get it that it's like one kid's gonna win, one kid's gonna lose. Most likely, Steph Curry.
Yeah.
But still, like enjoy the moments.
I agree, buddy. And when I see them, they don't look super on edge to me. Do you think so?
Well, ESPN was painting the picture that they are super on edge.
Well, you get parents who can't even come watch their kids. That's how on edge they are.
But it's like, your kids have made it to this level. Just sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, sit back and relax.
Yeah, sit back and enjoy it and see Steph Curry win another ring.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
That's just how I see it. That's my personal opinion. I feel like I can just throw that out there because they're so far away from where I'm at right now.
Makes sense, buddy.
Because I actually want to see a Bucks Warriors finals. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I think that would be the matchup that we've been waiting for all, because they didn't play each other in the regular season, right?
Oh, they do. They split games. They 2 apiece.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it Was it a home and away type of?
Yeah. So
Schedule.
anytime the conferences play each other, they play home and away. So they only play 2 games per season.
So, who won an Oracle?
Actually, I believe the Bucks won
It's you guys beat them in Milwaukee.
in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Yeah.
The funniest thing I learned about you this week: the only time you've been to Oracle Arena is to see a Beastie Boys concert.
That's right. It's true.
I'm surprised.
It was the let me quantify that. That Beastie Boys concert was probably the best Beastie Boys concert. It was like 13 rows from the stage, and it was a rotating stage in the center of the court, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I bet it was. I bet a rotating. Did you say rotating stage?
That's right.
Nice.
It's rotating around, so that way all 4 sides got to see them.
On TV, it doesn't look that old though.
It's old. It's old. And
it doesn't bring back memories when you see those like overhead views. I mean, I know you didn't live in that area, but
I mean, it kind of does, but like when they have like the pictures of the Golden Gate and they have other pictures, like that does. But like that area of the Bay Area, I didn't frequent as much.
Gotcha.
It was the East Bay.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like it's hard to describe because there is nothing in Atlanta like it. So it's kind of hard to describe.
Yeah, no islands over here.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like saying, no, I don't know. It's different. It's different.
Well, at least for me, if I ever moved away from here, going to like seeing the Falcons on Monday Night Football or seeing a Braves game or anything like that, that's going to bring back more memories. Because I've gone to a lot of those games, or I've been in that stadium to cover games. So
right.
So just kind of curious.
Would you have gone to a So it's kind of like, do you go to Gwinnett for anything? Like if you saw an overhead picture of Gwinnett, like would that remind you of Atlanta?
Yeah. I mean, I've been to the. I lived here for a long time, so I've been over to a Gwinnett Gladiators game.
Okay. How about this one? If you saw an overhead shot of Clayton County, would that kind of like
you had to go there? You had to go there.
But it was a good game. Good game.
I mean, I've been to the airport, so.
That's Henry County, I believe, right? Or that's still Fulton?
No, that's still Fulton. That's on the edge. Well, no. Fulton goes pretty deep. But it's between, like, the airport's between Clayton and, it's between Clayton and Fulton.
Yeah.
It's like it's right on that line.
But yeah, good stuff, buddy. It was a good game. It was a great comeback. I'm really excited about that win. I can't wait to see what they do in Portland. Hopefully we can still win in Portland.
Right. And now we're about to get into Football Friday. Congrats to your Dubs, by the way. So this is the ATL Box Score podcast. If you like this random off-the-wall conversation we kind of had, be sure to like and subscribe. And right now we are about to get into the Georgia-Florida rivalry and how that this past offseason has more drama than a soap opera. So that is coming up next. So there's been a lot of drama recently with the Georgia-Florida programs that obviously is going to contribute to the Georgia-Florida rivalry. And as a fan, a part of me doesn't like this bad blood going on, but then there's another part of me that really likes it, honestly. That it's gone to this point of just absolutely hating each other. I feel like Georgia fans, now, since they've gotten beaten in like now it seems kind of since Kirby Smart's taken over eons ago that there was a lot of just dislike, disdain, bad taste in your mouth from the Florida Gator program. And I'm more speaking from a side of the only side I know to speak on this is more from a Georgia fan's perspective, or someone that's followed the Georgia program for as long as I have. And the way we view, and I feel like to tie this into kind of like what we were talking about in last week's podcast when we were talking about Endgame. I like what Thanos says in Endgame that I feel like ties this all in. That the arrogant always do.
Right.
And that's so true with this. Because I'm making a reference at what Mike Bianchi talked about in an opinion piece in the Orlando Sentinel, what he wrote recently, talking, in his opinion, why Georgia is the most overrated program in college football. Now, I'm going to touch on that article in a few minutes, but where this all started was when Georgia hired Charlton Warner this offseason. Took him from the Gators. Looking at this picture, oh man, you don't want to. This seems like a dude you just don't want to mess with.
No, I wouldn't.
He seems like an MMA fighter.
Uh-huh.
Has that look to him.
But then when you hear him talk, he sounds like a poet.
He might be. I've never heard him speak, so.
I'm just joking.
So yeah, got him over to the Gators to be the defensive backs coach for the Dogs. And that's when on Mullen's side started chirping, and then Mullen mentioned the trying to take the under the radar, torpedo in the water type of shot at Georgia, with talking about if you're recruiting guys to come here, you want guys to stay, or you're not doing a good job at recruiting. Pretty much is what he said in a nutshell. I'm paraphrasing with that.
Right.
But then it's like they've had one of their highly recruited kids in the 2019 signing class is now already entering into the transfer portal. So, and Georgia fans have taken a lot of shots on at Dan Mullen on Twitter, which rightfully so, especially given the fact that Kirby Smart's record over Dan Mullen, even dating back to his days at Alabama, is pretty impressive. They've never lost to Mississippi State when he was at Alabama. And then when he was at Georgia, 2007, going down memory lane, he beat Mississippi State back then too. But now I just want to, I know I've talked, but now I want to get into what Mike Bianchi wrote in his article about, just to give you a snippet about what he wrote about the Georgia program. Georgia fans have way too high of opinion of their program. The Bulldogs won one national championships in the modern era that came 40 years ago in 1980. And although the reason it happened when this was because of two high thunder in a bottle twists of fate. The Bulldogs were fortunate enough to sign one of the greatest players in college football history in Herschel Walker. Oh, you Herschel Walker. Glad he got that one right. And then they were lucky enough to take a average of one of the biggest fluke plays in college football history with Lindsey Scott catch and run against Florida during the national championship season. So pretty much he just craps on the fact of that 1 year that Georgia fans hold so near and dear to their hearts. I feel like with all the stuff that's going on right now, it's May 17th. These games don't kick off. Now we're at yesterday was the 100-day marker. So today we're at 99. Maybe if you're listening, we're at 98 or 97 days till college football. And right now on the college football calendar, there's nothing to write about. So might as well, if you're a journalist, start writing about things that are going to get people's attention. Saying that Georgia is one of the most overrated programs in college football. When, in fact, they're at Georgia right now, they're achieving, the standard is the national championship. For Florida, the standard is winning the SEC East or going on to the SEC championship and seeing what your odds are there. Now, obviously, these programs right now in the present are just above each other. Now, when they meet in Jacksonville this fall, Florida might be in the top 10. That I feel like that's a stretch because they're losing so much on the offensive line. That if there's a year to beat Florida, if possibly you're Tennessee, I mean, this might be the year for these low-hanging teams to ruin Florida's season. Now, I don't see that happening or anything like that. But going right now on what's going on, guys like Mike Bianchi, who have Florida readers, want you to believe that Florida right now is focusing on the past and making the past present. But Georgia right now is focused on the future, saying things that Kirby Smart, when interviewed by Paul Feinbaum, saying that we talk with our helmets. It's just another case, too, of Dan Mullen, Mike Bianchi stirring the fire just because there is nothing to really talk about right now. But you need readers. You need people that people that are interested in this stuff, like me, are going on, are reading things, or listening to podcasts or sports. Well, they're really not talking about sports talk, right? But listening to things that are relevant to the sport that aren't really going on right now. And right now is the best time to stir the pot with these things. And even Mike Bianchi even compares Georgia, if they hadn't won that national championship, to South Carolina or Wisconsin. If they hadn't won that national championship. Yeah, I see where you're at right there, but you're twisting the past a little bit. And obviously you're trying to get your readers, and hey, you have to do your job, and your job is to think of things like this that people down there can read. But obviously you're like everyone else down there, you're a little bit too close to the sun, because you also talked about Mike Bianchi also brought up the fact that in his articles written in the past that Florida fans were very lucky to have Jim McElwain as their next head coach. He also talked about when Will Muschamp got the job for the Gators. Also, another coach that the Bulldogs really weren't that generous to Will Muschamp, and when it came to that game in Jacksonville, except for 1 year. But he talked about Will Muschamp is going to be the next Bob Stoops of college football, meaning that because of his background in the Big 12 that he was going to come over to the SEC and win a couple national championships. That never happened. Right now he's at South Carolina, and they're lucky at South Carolina to get a 10-win season out of him. So right now, if you put yourself into reality, yeah, you could probably put the label on Georgia right now that they have too highly of opinion of themselves. But at the same time, they're fans. They won a national championship. Yeah, it might have been decades ago. 41, 30-something years ago. I don't know where I was getting this 41 stuff from. But still, that's what happens with these fans. That's the thing that gives people hope, is the expectation was we won a national championship, we won another one. If it comes 30 or 40 years later, then that's what we waited for. I mean, looking back at the Florida Gators history, you could say that 2006 national championship team, that could have been a hoax, because they were in some games that it's like they probably should have lost in that 2006 national championship. Or you should just declare Boise State national champions back then, because they are the only team that had a undefeated season. Now, maybe I'm speaking too much as a homer or anything, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, this bothered me at first. Now it really doesn't, because I just know that we're in an era where we're trying to get readers and ratings and everything like that. But this is just another thing that that Mike Bianchi is just trying to stir the pot down there, and that college football, even though we hit the 100 day mark, is still a long way away. And right now, where it's standing with the Florida Gators, I could see why you're so high on Dan Mullen winning 10 games, but at the same time, you might have some troubles this upcoming season. I'm just gonna put it that way. And like I said, one program is expected to win is expected to repeat 10 wins and possibly compete for an SEC championship. The other program is trying to win a national championship because they know they have the talent, the players, and the resources to get there. Now we're going to bring on to the show Mr. Donovan James from Full Press Coverage, a podcast that he does, and he also writes for Recruiting News Guru. So we're glad to have Donovan James on the show today. Here's my conversation with Donovan. Well, we just want to say welcome back, Donovan. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, man? Thank you for having me on, by the way.
Oh, no problem. It's been a while since we've had you on the show, but appreciate you coming on and just talking recruiting with us.
Yeah, no problem. Recruiting never dies. 365 days, a year, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's true. And I just want to say congratulations to you. I know I've said it to you personally, but just to let our listening audience know, you're a recent college grad from Mercer University. So congratulations for getting that diploma.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a long time coming. I'm glad I got it done finally, so thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, Mercer isn't one of those like schools that is like one of the big schools in Georgia, but it's pretty impressive. Like, especially if you get a degree from that and like Emory. So yeah, it's pretty impressive that you would get that you were smart enough to go to Mercer.
Yeah, man, it is prestigious school. Definitely go Bears. But But it was. Yeah, I mean, no, it's a great school, great professors, great student life. I mean, it's fun. So I had a great time there, man. Got my bachelor's degree, ready to rock and roll, man. In the real world, as they say.
What was your major?
Business, sports marketing, analytics.
Nice,
and analytics,
nice.
Yeah.
But do you want to pursue the media side, or is this something that you're just kind of feeling out right now?
I'd like to pursue the media side. It would
Okay.
be fun. I'm definitely gonna try to stick my head in there and see what happens and just work hard, man. Show a lot of effort, and I got this degree will definitely help me go a long way for sure. There's a lot of good, Mercer alum that have gone on to do a lot of different big things, in different sporting fields. So trying to see where it goes, takes me, man, for sure.
Now you've actually you've had a pretty good college career in media because you got to interview guys like Baker Mayfield. Obviously, Atlanta, being so close to Atlanta is such a it's probably a big advantage of you because you've got to interview a lot of guys that have made college careers, like Kyler Murray this past December. So just tell me what that experience was like, because now he's the number one pick in the draft.
So, yeah, I've actually been honored and blessed, man. I've interviewed the last 3 Heisman winners, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson,
Oh, wow.
and Kyler Murray. Yeah, all in the same event center, I guess, in Atlanta for the College Football Hall of Fame.
For the College Football
downtown
Awards.
Atlanta. College Football Awards, yeah, at the College Football Hall of Fame, sorry. But, yeah, it's been crazy, man. It's fun. Baker, Kyler, Lamar, all this, I mean, so many guys, go on and on. But, I mean, it's been fun. It's been amazing. I mean, I've interviewed some of the guys at the opening at the Nike headquarters in Beaverton, Oregon, formerly, now Texas. And it's just been fun. I mean, and being from California and then living in Atlanta, so traveling to those 2 states has been definitely a benefit for me. I feel like Atlanta is the hub for college football at this point, especially with the Hall of Fame being there and the SEC championship and all the top, all 14 schools in the SEC really are competitive, honestly, each and every year. So, and then you got the ACT schools too in the South. So it's just an advantage that I've had, honestly. And Mercy's actually played some big schools. I mean, they play Alabama and Auburn, and we play UNC this year. So, just, got to use that to my advantage, and I've definitely done that. I hope I, can get some more interviews in, because I mean, those guys are definitely all good interviews too, by the way.
Right. Raise your hand here if you've ever interviewed 2 Heisman Trophy winners in back-to-back years while you were in college. Yeah, I didn't think so.
Man,
So
I'm happy about it, man. I'm happy about it.
that's awesome. That's awesome that you've gotten that experience, especially during your college years. But the calendar is soon going to move to June, and this is the time of year where recruiting starts to get rolling. I know a lot of people so far this month have, because this is kind of like talking season sort of in college football, because literally on the college football calendar, there's really nothing. Maybe recruiting, you could possibly say that, but it gets amped up next month with the camps and the 7-on-7 tournaments. So what are you looking forward to this upcoming month? Are you trying to see guys, or do you feel like this is when guys could possibly, that are a little bit under the radar, possibly get noticed? What as a recruiting analyst are you looking for in this next month of June?
I'm looking for a guy. It's funny. I'm looking at the transfer portal still. This is a little different. The transfer portal is still a little open. There's some guys still transferring. So I'm looking
the free agency of college football.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's different for us. I mean, it's still new.
Right.
So we're looking at what's gonna happen with that, because some of these kids aren't going to go to certain schools if they get a transfer. If they get a former 5-star from, like say, a Jack Smith from Clemson, he's just entered the transfer portal. He's a former 5-star from Miami Academy. If he goes to whatever X school, that might deter another 5-star from this class to go to that school, obviously, with him playing next year. So I'm looking for that. I'm looking at quarterbacks because, that's what makes the room spin, man, the quarterback, obviously. Most of those guys commit pretty early. But there's still some top quarterbacks, out there. And this is a really deep class of quarterbacks, a lot better than last year's class. Not as good as the year before or anything, 2 years ago, but definitely better than last year. So I'm looking for that too. And another thing I'm looking for is, coaching. Like, what are the coaches doing? Where are they? Is there any rumors about them going anywhere? Because it starts early. Some of these rumors that coaches are going to leave or assistant coaches getting new jobs kind of starts early. So I'm looking at what they're going to do. It's kind of lying season, almost. Like, a lot of coaches saying they're going to be there and then they're not going to be there. At this time next year.
Gotcha.
So I'm looking at what schools have that strong staff, like the Clemson, the Georgias. You might have some movers there, here and there with the staff, but those firm head coaches that have their jobs solidified aren't going anywhere. Those guys usually get the kids to stick around and enroll early, because obviously the top guys from the 2020 class will be enrolling in December. And that's new as well-ish, for the old school fans that, don't know, obviously, top quarterbacks and top players enroll early. So looking for that. I think that's a pretty big deal, especially for the, top dogs, like I said, a Georgia A&M or Clemson or, Oregon fan or whatever. Like, we just had a decommit from Chris Steele a couple days ago, from St. John Bosco. He decommitted from Florida. Now he's going to Oregon. It's a little weird, man, with the portal. It's saving kids from having to wait a whole, like you said, free agency is open, So I'm excited to see that and see what happens with it.
That's pretty much what it is. It's just college football free agency. And are there any other guys that could possibly make a big impact, plug-and-play guys that that programs are looking for? Because I know Florida right now is having trouble with their offensive line. Like, it's really thin down there, and the guys they have to plug those positions are pretty much just freshmen. So I'm just wondering, has there been any movement by the Gators to try to get more offensive line out of the transfer portal?
Yeah, I wish I had the portal up right now, but there's still a couple guys out there that can transfer. I know some guys got their transfer blocked. Some guys just haven't moved yet. Like I said, they're still Cameron Jones just still being transferred today from Nebraska, Florida State line. But so there's some guys out there still, definitely. As far as Florida goes, they might have to start guys early. Obviously, their line has struggled. They lost a lot. They lost Marchez Ivy, lost some guys up front. From the draft. But there's some plug-and-play guys from the 2019 class. I think a guy like Evan Neal from IMG Academy. He's going to play for Alabama pretty early, you know what I mean, on the right side. I think a guy like Hazelwood, with that spread offense going 4 wide, 3 wide with Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma. Kevon Thibodeau starts, tomorrow if the season started for Oregon. You know what I mean? Nolan Smith for Georgia starts. Because Oregon's not, they're still kind of – Oregon's going to be loaded this year, especially with Herbert, but their defense is still a little thin. Kevon Thibodeau definitely starts. A guy like Brew McCoy definitely will start, or big playing time for Texas. A&M's got a couple guys, Kenyon Green and DeMarvin Leal. I think they will start and play early. Georgia's got a lot of guys that can play right away as well. And Tennessee, just because they're a little thin still, doing a good job at recruiting. Don't get me wrong, Tennessee fans, but still a lot of work to go for them. But yeah, man, I mean, like with Coach Mullen in Florida, though, that team's still really good. I do worry about their line, especially with Felipe Franks's play and so up and down. But they got a kid. His name is slipping my mind right now. William Herard from D.C. From Fort Washington, Maryland. From the D.C. area originally. But yeah, he could play early. He's a tackle. Probably could play my right side. And Ethan White, who's from Florida as well. I think he could play. He's really, really, really big. He needs to kind of cut weight, but other than that, he's a really good player. I think he's like 380.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little too big.
Right.
But probably get him down to about 350. 345. We'll see what happens. Got some project guys up front from Florida. But yeah, they have a really good class. Top 10 class from last year. So
gotcha.
They'll probably have a top 10 class every year with Coach Mullen.
Gotcha. Well, on ESPN, their recruiting rankings right now, they have them at number 5. And it seems like that there's been a lot of movement with these recruiting rankings because Georgia was like sitting out of the top 11 or top 10, and now they jumped up to number 5. You had Georgia Tech at one time all the way up to, I think, in like the 8 or 9 spot. Really impressive for where Georgia Tech has been recruiting wise. So you've had a lot of movement recently. Just explain about that, and because I thought that there were kids that with these bigger schools that are still waiting to commit later on during the season or after their senior season's over in high school.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Tech's class, 247 Sports, they're 13 overall right now. And they're just doing, really good job, especially at the key positions like receiver and defense. And that's really what you need when you're trying to transition from that old school offense that they had, the triple option, to the new offense they have. So Ryan King, State from Grayson High School is committed there. And then Miles Brooks from Trinity Christian Academy in Jacksonville. They produce corners they've got 6, I think, D1 guys in the past 2 years at corner along. I'm not even including Tyree Johnson. Has been the superstar player he is, and they've had a few others. But yeah, Miles Brooks is going to be really good. He's 6'2", 185. They've got Eddie Watkins as well, and Gerard Wiggles. They got a lot of edge rushers, a lot of receivers, a lot of corners in this class. So yeah, Tech's doing a really good job. Look at North Carolina, kind of another random school you wouldn't think would be in the top 10. Definitely in there with Mac Brown as a new head coach, of course. And then, like you mentioned, Florida, in top 10. Miami did a really, really, really good job with the transfer portal. They probably were the winners of the transfer portal. And then now, they're number 4 in recruiting. So, yeah, but I would think that Clemson is going to be 1. It could be Bama, but it's going to be Clemson or Bama, one of those two, of course, right?
Right.
Only fitting because they're the best 2 schools yet. But, Clemson has just they've already got 4 or 5 stars. You know what I mean? Nobody else has more than 2. So, and they're looking at getting a couple more in there. So, it could be scary, for Dabo for the rest of the ACC. To go against Dabo and Brent Venables and those guys at Clemson.
Mm-hmm. What about LSU? Because LSU on 24/7 is ranked number 2. And LSU's had a history of keeping guys in state. So Are the Tigers still doing that with Ed Orgeron, or are they going out of state and trying to get some Texas guys?
Oh, they're always got to get some Texas guys. That's their pipeline, especially that New Orleans under Houston area. Always they keep the guys in state. Get a lot of. They have a really good Houston pipeline. Yeah, they'll keep their guys in state. They actually missed on a couple this past year, and this year they don't have all the top recruits from Louisiana. Alabama's stealing a lot, but they got, it's funny, 2 California guys. Elias Ricks, who I think is the #1 corner in the country out of Modern Day High School, and then they got Jermaine Burton from Calabasas, who's been coached by Chris Chambers, and they've got some really good receivers at Calabasas. I don't know if they'll keep all these guys committed. I think they'll get Elias in. I'm not sure about Jermaine Burton. That's the only thing I worry about with LSU's class. They'll definitely finish 5, but they're kind of maxed out already on players, and I don't know if they're going to keep all. They have 14 commits right now. I would be surprised if they kept some of these guys. They have a lot of out-of-state guys that think that get split. And Coach O is not on the hot seat or anything, but he's kind of always on the hot seat. LSU's a tough job. Their schedule is just always brutal, and you could easily go 7-5 there, or you could go 11-2 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right,
they have a lot coming back. A lot coming back with Joe Burrow in that defense, but we'll see. I mean, LSU's always going to be in the top 10 of LSU, one of the premier programs in the country.
Mm-hmm. Right now, I guess one of the surprising teams to me that's ranked so low on ESPN's, because I'm flipping back and forth, on ESPN's recruiting rankings is Texas A&M. On ESPN, they're sitting at 19th, and they only have 6 commitments so far. Do you feel like that Jimbo Fisher will pick it up as the summer months roll on and as the season gets started?
Yes, I do. I think some of those guys we just talked about with LSU could possibly flip, to A&M. They always have that rivalry there between, that school, A&M and LSU. Obviously, they played 7 overtime games last year, so there's a huge rivalry every year. So, yeah, they'll move higher. And plus, you got to think A&M has a lot coming back, a young team, and then they had the top 5 class coming in from this year. So there's not a lot of room on that team. We'll see what happens. They didn't have a lot of guys leave early. A lot of guys stayed. So I think they'll dip into some Arkansas has a high class right now, too. I think that will drop, but I think A&M will kind of sneak into their territory and the LSU's territory. So I think they'll move up into solidify themselves a top 15 class. Maybe not top 10 again or 5, but top 15 class, which is not bad at all.
Interesting. I would assume that Texas A&M would, and also too, you have Texas really low too. Why do you think that is with these Texas schools? Because, I mean, they're in a hotbed of recruiting just in their own state.
I think it's so hard to recruit against each other, man. Honestly, I think that, again, Texas is another team pretty young at some spots. Not as young as A&M. They did lose a lot last year, but they're in a good place. Their class the past 2 years have been in the top 5. Tom Herman's done a hell of a job. I think, the Longhorns will move up. Hudson Card is their prize possession in that class, and Jake Majors, one of the top centers, one of the top quarterbacks. So we'll see. They're struggling a tad bit, a little bit more than I thought, especially on defense. We know Herman's going to get his offensive players on defense. Yeah, they only have 6 commits right now, but I think once, the camps start opening up and they start seeing certain guys, they'll move on them quick and they'll flip to Texas, and we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be too worried if I was Texas right now. Their team's just so loaded already with young guys that they can have a small class, and as long as they finish in the top 20, top 15, they'll be okay. But they've got some work to do because their class isn't that. It's just so small. You know what I mean? With 6 guys right now.
Right. Notre Dame and Penn State. Now, I know with the Notre Dame name, that's anonymous with college football, but it seems like both of those programs are starting to be more of an attractive place for guys to go. I'm just curious, do they get a lot of guys, do they get a lot of Florida guys from the South coming to those programs, or do they just get a lot of guys that are in the region?
Penn State is really securing that region well. They're killing it in New Jersey, really. It's just been a Ohio State, just handpicking Jersey kids because Rutgers is obviously a dysfunctional program right now, and then they're getting Maryland kids because Maryland's a dysfunctional program right now. They're not having to fight with anyone else really, so they're killing it in that Northeast region, that Midwest region. But as far as Notre Dame, that's pushing national recruiting. I mean, they'll get a couple guys from the South. Most of their top guys are from the South because that is a class. You're looking at that Midwest region, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and you're looking at the West Coast. Brian Kelly does a really good job and Notre Dame's always kind of gotten a lot of West Coast kids. I think I know it sounds probably like kind of funny. It was like more Catholic, kids that kind of grew up in that Catholic household in the West Coast, and then like in the Northeast region. You're Massachusetts and New York and stuff. So it's this dream. A Southern kid's dream is not to go to Notre Dame.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
That's
exactly.
just not. That's just with the West Coast kid, the Northeast kid, and the West kid. They want to go to Notre Dame still. So yeah, I mean they got Tosh Baker, who I love, from Pinnacle High School in Arizona. Plays basketball too, but definitely will be playing football. So I mean they got a lot of guys. Michael Mayer. Yeah, Notre Dame's had a really. Notre Dame's only beef I have with Notre Dame recruiting. They do a really good job. They always finish top 10, top 15. They just can't get 5 stars. You look at how many 5 stars they've gotten since Brian Kelly's in there. It's only been 1. So, they could just get a couple game-changing guys. Like, you know what I mean? Ian Book's okay, but when you start getting guys like Tua instead or Kyler in, the 5-star quarterbacks, that's when you start really – you can see the difference between Notre Dame and Clemson, right? Even though if you looked at their team, Notre Dame had a bunch of guys drafted, a bunch of studs, but they just don't have those guys, that 4.3 speed guy, you know what I mean, that top-tier quarterback. And if they can get that, they'll be back. That's crazy to say. And Notre Dame's a good team, don't get me wrong, but they're not back yet until, like, the national prominence. But they will be if they can do that.
Even though they made it to the college football playoff this past year.
True, yeah, I know, but a lot of people didn't think they should even got in, and then when they did, it just got destroyed. They didn't belong. I think they would have lost that bad to Alabama or Oklahoma too. Honestly, like it probably. And I'm not, Notre Dame is a good team. Like I said, I thought they deserved to be in. They went undefeated, but when you don't play that conference championship game, you got to do a little bit more, to impress people. And they just, don't have that speed. That Big 12 speed, that SEC speed, they're lacking a little bit, but they'll be there. Mm-hmm. They'll be in the mix every.
Do you think them coming down here to Georgia playing the Dogs on September 21st, do you feel like that's going to help some interest with their program, making a trip down here like that?
Oh, that's going to be huge, man. I mean, at one point, it's funny, they had Demetrius Robertson, who's on Georgia's roster for now. He was at Cal. He was committed to Notre Dame. Instead of going to Cal, now he's at Georgia. He'll be playing a big role this year with Georgia losing some receivers. But getting guys like that, man, they don't come down here a lot. It's not Notre Dame doesn't travel to the South too much. So it's huge for them, especially being on national television. It could be a college game day type game. They lost to them 2 years ago, but it was really competitive. I think that game was huge for Notre Dame and Georgia. It really showed me a lot. Both teams on both sides. They both competed so hard and just fought and played, really, really old school type football. But yeah, this is huge. I think it's huge for Ian Book and Coach Kelly and the whole program. Honestly, going forward for Notre Dame, they're a really good team. I think they're having Georgia on their schedule changes everything for them because now people can't say, oh, they didn't really play anyone. They get Georgia early, and if they beat Georgia in Athens, and they run the table, they're going to be back in the college football playoff, no doubt about it.
Well, I know a lot of people down here don't want to see that happen, including myself. But
no, they don't.
But at the same time, yeah.
Trying to be nice to Notre Dame fans.
There you go. But yeah, that would be huge for the program if they could pull that off. But I know Georgia is using that as kind of an insurance win to get into the college football playoff if things kind of shake out that way. So with this recruiting rankings list, and I know some people like Paul Feinbaum say like it's not worth it to look at recruiting this early, but teams that stand out that you're surprised are doing as well as they are in these recruiting rankings so far? Because I see teams like Northwestern's on here. You mentioned North Carolina.
Man, I'm really happy about what North Carolina's doing. I have no ties to North Carolina at all. Just saying, I'm just happy because I feel like that program really should be a little bit better at football than they are. They kind of were getting better. At one point, you saw a bunch of guys, that Trubisky, Reigns, and the quarterback they had before. I can't think of his name. When they played Georgia, it was in Atlanta. They played Easton was quarterback. They were starting to get better. Dropped off, had some stuff, obviously with administration happen with the basketball team and stuff hurt him a lot. But I think this Mac Brown hire is big for them. They're kind of an older staff, but I like the hires that they made. Yeah, man, they really on defense. I've noticed how Ethan West, Cameron Sinclair, one of the top safeties, one of the top inside linebackers, getting a guy like Cedric Gray, who is being recruited by Georgia and LSU and a lot of others, Miami, and he goes to UNC right now as a commit. That's big for them. So we'll see what they can do. They've always had some good players at North Carolina. To put it all together would be nice for that program. So I like what they're doing. Kind of surprised that they're that high. Northwestern, yeah, Pat Fitzgerald, he's really good, man. He's probably one of the most underrated coaches in college football. Well, he does so much and so little. Yeah, I like Pat Fitzgerald, man. He does, but it's just tough. You got the academic standards at Northwestern that are really high, like a Duke, like Notre Dame. You got it's Northwestern. You're competing against Penn State and you know what I mean, Ohio State and Wisconsin, and you're kind of the little brother, not even a little brother, like the third brother, and you're still in the top 15 in recruiting. That's a hell of a job. And they made it to the Big Ten championship last year too. NC State, I think, is having a nice class, kind of underrated class. Wake Forest is 30, which is really high. You don't think about Wake Forest being one of the top 30 programs for recruiting, but they are. And the last one I would say that is a surprise, maybe the biggest surprise, Rice.
Really? Rice is back in there.
Rice is ahead of Kentucky, Nebraska, Virginia, West Virginia, Baylor, and Washington right now. And if I had told you that, you would have laughed at me probably. I would have laughed at myself for saying that. But, hey, man, I don't know what's going on. It's like you said, Texas. Maybe Rice is coming up. They're taking some recruits away.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think Rice is doing a really good job. I don't know how they're doing this right now, but if they finish this high, this would be the highest recruiting class they've ever had.
Wow.
For the history of the program.
Wow.
So Mike Bloomgreen, I don't know what he's doing. Like I said, I know he's from Alabama. That's probably has something to do with it. You know what I mean? Their head coach now. He was a former assistant coach for Nick Saban, so it usually works out pretty well. But, yeah, man, pretty good class for this. Very impressed.
Now I just want to shift the attention right now to the local teams. I want to ask you, because a lot of people, and it's impressive what they're doing, but some people think that Georgia Tech is the sleeping giant right now with Jeff Collins. And I'll say this with Jeff Collins, for their spring game, they filled out the bowl of the stadium, and that's pretty impressive for a spring game for Georgia Tech, because no one goes to the spring game at Georgia Tech. But with that, with being a new head coach at a new program, there's obviously this excitement there, and it's obviously there right now at Georgia Tech. So he got a great running back out of Rome High School, which is a program that won a couple state championships here recently. So what do you feel about Jeff Collins being at Georgia Tech and the impact he's made in recruiting?
Yeah, Jemias Griffin, great running back, by the way. We talked about him, I think, the last time.
I think so, yeah. I think we did.
Man, I'm excited to see what Tech can do with Jeff Collins. I really, if I had to pick, top 5 teams, I'll definitely be keeping my eye on. Georgia Tech would be one of them because they've always had the talent, man. They could put this together, and this could be special. Maybe not this year, but I'm really for them. They were 7-6 last year. I think they can make the 8-9 game jump. Really, 10 is asking for a lot, but if they go 9-3 or even 9-4 against the bowl game, that would be great. And then you come into next year with a possible top 10, top 15 class, maybe your best class ever. As a Yellow Jacket fan and Yellow Jacket fans out there. So yeah, I mean, not a deep team, honestly, but they have some good players. They have some young, exciting players, and we get a couple guys back from injury last year as well. So I'm excited about their defense too. Their defense can really athletic defense. From what I've heard about their spring game, yeah, that's crazy that they had that many people at their spring game because it's Georgia Tech, So what a in the hundreds maybe in their spring games. 800.
Well, they filled out that bowl, so I mean that's
big.
that's pretty impressive for Georgia Tech.
I definitely agree with that. They've got. I'm trying to think of some kids they have. I think, like I mentioned, Miles Brooks, and Ryan King earlier. I'm really excited about Ryan King playing receiver for you because Tech always gets that one receiver. Obviously Calvin's one of them. The other Snell too. Got a bunch of them.
Right.
The other kid that killed at the combine a few years ago. I can't think of his name, but he's the same mold. He's 6'3.5", 205. Lanky, tall receiver. Got some speed. Really good hops. And Georgia Tech has to be able to watch him. Like I said, Grayson is always one of the premier programs in the state for high school football, so they'll get a chance to watch that kid play some big time opponents. So. Definitely watch out for them.
It's like there's no excuse to be good, in my opinion, just knowing what the high school football scene is like here.
Yeah, man. Tyson McQuez from Creekside, too. They got him. I mean, they really good job. Really look at the kids they got. They're all from Atlanta. Finally, it's like a coach that can recruit the city.
Right, exactly.
Paul wasn't doing that, man. I know Paul was a great guy. Everybody likes him. But the way he recruited, they were always going to go 7-6, 6-6, and then they'll have a year they go 10-2 every once in a blue moon. But that's not. Georgia Tech should be better, at least a 9-3 team, 9-4 ball to me, and I think that's what they'll be doing with Coach Collins.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the other side down in Athens because Georgia Tech's just looking. Obviously, to have a good season, 8 wins would probably do that for them. But down the road in Athens, they're looking to have a national championship this year. But since it seems like the Georgia staff has been focused on what's going on the field, that and at least until this week, that they've kind of taken the foot off the gas a little bit and have teams like Florida and Georgia Tech pass them. But now they've ended up back in the top 4 on ESPN. I think on 24/7. I'm going to look this up real quick. I think they're in the I think they're at 3 at 24/7 Sports. So what are your impressions so far about the Dogs this year?
I mean, the class coming in, really good. Just want to say that it's 5 right now. So, and they've got a lot of work to do. I feel like that 5 is gonna be their low. They're gonna finish possibly at 2.
Oh, really?
I think they can end up at 2 possibly. Yeah. I mean, because they've got a lot of guys that are still up in the air. 9 commits right now, 2 5-stars, 7 4-stars. A lot of guys they can possibly pull off still. But as far as what they have coming back and what they can do, I mean, yeah, it's Georgia. Jake Fromm, of course, the quarterback, and DeAndre Swift in the backfield with James Cook and all those guys, and they're just loaded. It's running back you, man, for a reason. They produce the best running back currently to me in the world. So you look at what they have at tight end, they're still solid there. Up front, they're good. I like what they have at receiver, even though they lost a lot. Demetrius Robinson's going to be a stud. Really like Tyler Simmons and Jeremiah Holloway as well. Cade Mays, man, Ben Cleveland if he's healthy. Defense. I feel like funny. Georgia's defense is really, really good. You don't have to worry about them. I worry about them a little last year. Up front, I do worry about them. They're going to be pretty young up front, but I still think they're a really good defense. Really looking for guys like Richard LeCount and Mark Webb to kind of be the captains and step up on defense for them. Julian Rochester coming back was huge, up front too. So, and then obviously Rodrigo Blankenship in the special teams game to be pretty solid and consistent there. So, yeah, man, Georgia, I picked them to win the national championship last year. I was a little off, but I think that they'll definitely be contending again. I'm trying to, people keep asking me, do I think their team is better than last year? It's hard to say that right now. I don't know. But ask me that in a little bit, and I'll give you an answer. I think their schedule is easier. I will say that. I don't know if their team is better than last year. But I do know those guys are going to – the way they lost the past 2 years, man, and then the Texas game, I mean, they got to fight, what I mean?
Yeah.
They've been right there. I mean, both Alabama games and the Texas game was embarrassing. You know what I mean? It really was. And Texas beat them pretty handily. So they got to come with it. They start off in Nashville, of course, and then – the Notre Dame game. And then it's on from there with the SEC schedule. But I think it's pretty doable, man. I really looking at their schedule past the Notre Dame game is, obviously that Florida game, which I think they'll be favored in, of course, and then A&M game. The Auburn game's always tricky. But other than that, they don't have, they'll be double-digit favorites in every game.
Right.
Yeah, so it should be fun.
It should starting off really smooth until you get to Notre Dame. There are some landmines in the schedule, but it's pretty manageable. There's no reason why the Dogs can't be 7-0 going down to Jacksonville again.
They should be, and they're a better team than Florida too. The gap isn't as wide as last year. Again, Florida's gotten better. Georgia is probably the same, if not a little bit weaker, but the schedule, like I said, is better. That game, they just have that intimidation factor with Florida. Florida's gonna have to prove to me a lot, because Georgia. I know what Georgia does, man. They Kirby Smart. I will say this about him, man. He's gonna run the football, and they're gonna slap you in the mouth. They're a power team that hits you with the body punches, and that's what this is boxing. They'd be or UFC. They'd be ground and pound, man. They wrestle you to the ground and beat you. If they have to stand up and shoot it out, they will, but that's not their game.
Right.
They're just going to run all over you, But A&M's going to kind of take them out of their element. Notre Dame can do that too, and so can Auburn. So those are the three teams. Florida can't do that yet. I do not trust their offensive line. Like you mentioned, I do not trust really Dave Franks. He has gotten better, but I don't trust him in that game because he has been horrible in the Georgia-Florida game. They just played really good versus Michigan to end the season, so we'll see what Florida's about. And Kentucky dropped off this year. I don't think South Carolina's very good or Tennessee yet, so they should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
At least 11.
Tell me about Broderick Jones, a recent commitment to the Dogs on the offensive line.
Say that one more time. I can you said
Broderick Jones.
Oh, Broderick Jones. Yeah, I haven't seen him much, honestly. I've heard good things about him, but I haven't seen him too much. I know he is a monster, 6'6", 300 pounds. I know he goes Lithuanian, but I haven't seen his tape yet. I've heard good things, like I said. I know he's very athletic. I know he plays basketball background. I don't know if he still plays. I know he played last year. No Bam was after him hard. I know he's committed to Georgia. We'll see what happens. I know he's really athletic, though. That's all I know. I wish I saw him play, but I haven't seen him play yet.
Yeah. It seems like, though, in the state, because I'm looking at, the state recruitings, that Georgia is still, they're stocking up on offensive linemen so far in this class, and I guess that's been one of the reasons why they've been, and defensive linemen too, they've been just down in the recruiting rankings.
Yeah, I think O-line is where you start. Those guys don't flip-flop too much. When you start looking at the skills guys, those are the, flash, prima donna guys. Not all of them, but some of them. They start flipping, flopping. They're fine. Carson Beck, to me, is going to be a superstar quarterback, a tough first-round type quarterback. 6'4", 226, or 6'4" and a half, 226 right now. I'm looking at guys at the opening. He's one of the favorites right now. I'm a Elite 11 guy. I always look at Elite 11 and what they're. So I mean, they're fine at quarterback. They got Jamil Burrows coming in from McEachern. I did see him play in person twice. Love him. Love his game. He's an instant starter. But yeah, I mean, Georgia's possibly fine. They've got a lot of guys on offensive line, like you said, and defensive line. And so they're still getting a couple of skill position guys. Once they start getting those guys, it'll move up. And then they haven't done their out-of-state recruits either. Most guys are just getting guys from state right now. Georgia is a huge out-of-state team. Getting guys from Georgia is what they need to do, of course, first and foremost. Kirby Smart, that was his goal coming in, and he's done that every year. But once you start getting outside of Georgia, start dipping into Florida, like Carson Beck, he's from Florida. Guys from California, Texas, all over. Georgia's a national recruiter now at this point. They can get guys from pretty much wherever they want. So, especially on the East Coast. So, I mean, they'll be fine, I think. As long as you solidify Georgia and get better up front and on defense, you'll be fine. They're going to be bloated at quarterback and running back forever. You know what I mean? I mean, Georgia's, it's been a while. I know Fromm's been here, it seems like forever now, but in the Murray, they had. Georgia hasn't been. It seems like it's so long. And then Murray for 4, right?
Yeah,
David Green for 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Georgia hasn't had that many, which is a good thing. You don't want a bunch of quarterbacks. They've been consistent at quarterback. Not a lot of other teams can say that. They had a weird thing with Joe Cox for a while, but that's over with. Carson Beck's going to be a superstar. I'm really happy about him going to Georgia. He fits the offense so well. He is. I don't want to, go too far, but it reminds me a lot of what I saw with Drew Lock,
okay,
out of Missouri, who just went, I think, 46 to the Denver Broncos. He's just so athletic and then tall and has that strong, massive. I mean, like, he can throw 70, 80 yards down the field and really open it up for Georgia. Mm-hmm. He could be even better than Drew Lock. I mean, honestly, Drew Lock went to Missouri, so imagine Drew Lock is on a better team. That's basically what Carson Beck is going to be. He's going to be with James Cook and all those guys at running back. And I'm excited for Georgia next year. And this year, too, like I said.
So once they get this Carson Beck kid, I've seen him before with coverage with DogNation.com. I guess the dream scenario that I feel like a lot of Georgia fans want to see happen at this point is that you get Carson Beck in your program and you get Jake Fromm. I guess the key thing is Jake Fromm stays for his senior year no matter what happens during this next year, and that you can just slowly bring this guy into the offense. And then and if he's good enough by his freshman year, then you can hand off the reins to him.
That's exactly what they want, yeah. I mean, for one, they I know he's committed to Georgia, but 247 still has him going to Florida. So first they got to solidify that. But I think he goes to Georgia. I do. I don't think he flips. I know he's from Florida. They're going to recruit him hard. They're going to say, they're going to say the same stuff. I mean, Felipe Franks is gone. You can play here. And I just feel like, as much as I love what Coach Mullen's doing at Florida, I trust Kirby Smart and his staff more, and it offense fits him a little better. Mullen's got that, shotgun kind of spread option. Carson Beck's not that athletic. I mean, he can move outside the pocket. We don't want him running 15, 20 times a game. Right. He's a freestyle runner. You don't want to really design stuff for him. So I think, Georgia fans would be very, very happy. If obviously Jake stays for senior year, and then they can get Carson Beck, and then Harrison Bailey's going to Tennessee, but I mean there's other quarterbacks in Georgia. You know what I mean? McLaughlin's out there, and for 2021, a bunch of guys. So, they'll be fine. And there's a transfer portal too. With that happening now, you can never be too deep at quarterback and receiver and running back. Yeah.
Well, I mean, with this Carson Beck kid, Georgia, when they got commitment from Justin Fields, that they had to fight off Dan Mullen again because Dan Mullen wanted Justin Fields pretty bad, and he would have probably fit in that Florida system pretty good too.
He would have. Yeah, he would have fit really, really, really well, actually. But obviously decided to go to Ohio State. I mean, I'd rather go to Ohio State, too, honestly. They just have better talent, better, easier chance to win. Ohio State's a better program than Florida right now. But, yeah, man, I really think that, again, you know, looking at quarterbacks and the camps and stuff like that, I mean, Georgia's just been producing. As a state, I'm not talking about just the Bulldogs, as a state, Georgia's been really producing quarterbacks. Quincy Avery is one of the best quarterback coaches in the country. He's right out of Atlanta, so having him there helps, and having that homegrown talent, either from Florida or from Georgia, you know, I mean, it helps out a lot. I know Carson Beck's from Jacksonville, so he's right there. He's not too far away. I'm sure he'll be at the game this year, right?
Right, absolutely. Donovan, it was great having you on again. Where can we find your stuff at?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports, all together, one word, Don James Sports. Yeah, Full Press Coverage. We do a show on Full Press Coverage Radio Network. And, oh, man, it's Monday nights. It's fun. It's live. You know, it's 2 hours. Sometimes we go 3 once a week, so we try to get as much as possible. We talk about recruiting, basketball, football, pop culture, all types of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, recruiting news guru, me and Ryan, you know, right over there. Definitely, he's working his butt off. I took a little time off, you know, to graduate, but I'll definitely be back. Trying to hit some camps up this summer. Missed a couple, but I'm trying to go to Adidas camp. Try to go to the opening again. That would be great. 3 years in a row. It'd be nice to go for a fourth and see guys like Carson Beck and DJ Ugalele and Bryce Young and all the top 2020 quarterbacks. So, yep. Again, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports. Thank you.
And
I appreciate it.
Check out Full Press Coverage on Mondays.
Yes, Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. We guys need to check that out. Thank you, Donovan, for coming on the show today.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you again, Alex. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too. Well, we just want to thank Donovan James for coming on the show today. We also want to thank Steve Choi for being a part of us, being with us for our first segment, and definitely appreciate you guys. I'm glad I don't have to talk to a wall. Glad I can come in here and have great conversations about sports, and especially football. Talking some Georgia-Florida rivalry. That I guess that bitter exchange never really gets old. Also, too, what are the Braves? I wonder if the Braves are on the road this weekend, or they're at a home. They have a home series.
Yeah, they're at home against Milwaukee.
They're at home against. That's right. They are home against Milwaukee. Okay, usually when they play that Thursday game, that's usually when they're home. If they ramp up like a home stand on Thursday.
But they just came back from a long West Coast trip.
True.
So.
True. You always know because of that traffic.
That I do, my friend. That I do.
So, just wanted to wrap everything up. Subscribe, comment to the ATL Box Score, and we are on social media. And you can also find the ATL Box Score where all good podcasts are found. We have the bases covered for you. We are on iTunes, Google Play, so look us up, subscribe, like. Appreciate it if you give us a 5-star review if you think that we deserve that. We don't have all the bells and whistles that a lot of podcasts have. But, hey, this is what happens when you start something new and you want to kind of follow the guidelines to media production.
Nice.
So, yeah. Thanks for checking us out today, and I hope that you guys have a great weekend. If you're checking out the Braves playing Milwaukee, that's a pretty big series if they want to to get that wild card down the road. And I know is Milwaukee's playing Milwaukee Toronto tonight, right?
That is correct.
Milwaukee Toronto tonight. Warriors and
Blazers.
Blazers.
That's right.
Trailblazers.
The Trailblazers.
Yeah. Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Is there no things? No
Sunday is Milwaukee and Toronto again.
Milwaukee and Toronto.
Yeah, it's a every other night situation.
Let's just look up who Atlanta United's playing just for the heck of it. They've been on fire. Oh, they play the Red Bulls. Yep, play the Red Bulls at on Saturday 5 p.m. up in New York.
In your New York.
Okay, so
where they will rob you.
where all those teams are overrated and they suck. So, with that being said, this was the ATL Box Score Podcast. Thanks for checking us out. Like, subscribe, comment. Again, I'm Alex Berger, joining me with Steve Choi. And that being said, this is the 58th edition of the podcast. So episode 58 is out.